dimensions away from How to Train Your Dragon being called How to Train Your Pet Dragon. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at How to Train Your Dragon, released in 2025. How to Train Your Dragon is directed by Dean DeBellos and is written also by Dean DeBellos as well. It's based on the original animated film How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell and starring Mason Thames, Nicole Parker, Gabriel Howell, Julian Denson, Rowan James, Harry Trevelyan, Peter Stufferowitz, Nick Frost, and Gerard Butler. The movie is essentially a remake of the animated DreamWorks movie How to Train Your Dragon, and this time around, it is basically some part of it. I've been told is a shot. It's not a shot for shot, but there are things that they minorly change. But it's mostly a faithful remake of the original animated film. I, for one, have never seen the original How to Train Your Dragon movie before, so I don't really know if the movie itself is faithful to the movie or if it's not. I went into this cold like I did Aladdin. I did not see this movie beforehand, so I honestly saw this for the first time and I watched it. And I'm gonna say, for a movie I had never seen the original before, I really enjoyed it. I'm one of those people who, when I watch a movie, if it's a remake of something, I'm more harsher on it because it's like, okay, you're never gonna watch this. And there are times where I've never seen the original and watch it and enjoy it, but then when you rewatch, you're like, ugh. Like for instance, I enjoyed the Aladdin remake, but then again, it was years before I saw. It was years. I watched Aladdin years ago when I was a kid, and so I had not rewatched it since then. I mean, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, okay, I really enjoyed the Will Smith movie. But then when I rewatched it as a kid, I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I could see why people complain, but at the same time, it's a really decent remake, I think. As for, the Lion King remake, I've seen it thousands of times, and I was just pissed off because it's a shot for shot remake of the original movie. And so when I went into this movie, I was expecting it to, people like complaining. Some people actually really liked it. And, it did really well at the box office. And I was excited. I mean, one thing I really like about this movie is it does start out like a cliche, like, oh, there's children. I was kind of hoping it would start out like, oh, there's like the dragon tales of hey, not dragon tales like the cartoon, but I'm saying dragon, like this is a tale of dragons. And instead it starts out with just like action and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, here we are. But then I was not liking that at first, but then as we got to like following the Hiccup, the little boy who goes on an adventure, he finds, he wants to kill a dragon. He's like, I have to kill this dragon. And then basically Toothless, this dragon, he teams up, and the dragon basically becomes like, his best friend, and he even fixes his tail and, and everything. And then he starts learning all of his tricks that he uses on Hiccups. He uses it to fight dragons in the tournament, and he wins every time. And he's just like, and so I thought that was unique, and he's like learning from this dragon, and I thought that was really unique. And I do like that his dad is like this big Viking lord, that he really wants him to like be king of the Vikings and everything. It's like, I want you to take my place one day, and I really think that that's great, and his dad really does love him, and it really sucks though that that he doesn't want to follow in his father's shadow. He really wants to be his own man. And I thought that's really great. It's a father-son story at the heart of it. And when he finds the dragon, I really enjoyed we get like a series of him training with the dragon. It's not just like, oh, because I was expecting, okay, the girl's going to find the dragon. The girl's going to find out about the dragon. But like, it didn't come till later on in the movie. And I really appreciated that, because I would have been like so mad if it would have been like the first 10 minutes and she becomes friends and then like they get in shenanigans. But I'm glad that it doesn't do that. I'm pretty sure in the original movie that probably did happen, where it's like shenanigans unfolded. I do appreciate also that the dragons, they look close, because I did look and see, before that I did this, they look really close to the cartoon. So I'm really glad that they did that. I mean, I think if they had made it too different, then people would have been like, what are we doing here? And I thought that was really great. I also appreciate the fact that these are like, this dragon, the How to Train Your Dragons are essentially like that. This is made for family, okay? And I do appreciate that it's not just like, you can get Dragonheart, or it went like the direction of like, oh, we got to be like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, Instead they went like, oh, we're just gonna make a fun family film, and I really appreciate that, because this could have been an awful movie. And I honestly, a lot of people were skeptic. And then on top of that, apparently people at CinemaCon really loved this movie. They come out loving it. And I thought that was really cool and everything. And then they announced the sequel at CinemaCon as well. And I'm like, they're really ambitious, aren't they? And so I watching this movie, I'm like, I didn't see it in theaters because I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch it in theaters. I'm gonna wait till it hits VOD or something. So, my niece really wanted to see it, so she rented it on VOD, and I was like, let's watch it. And so we watched it, and I watched it. I'm like, this is a really good movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I watched it. I was like, I could watch this again. That's how good it was. I mean, I actually am excited to see. I would like to see where they're gonna go for How to Train Your Dragon 2. And I think honestly, how everybody gets their own individual dragon was really cool. And I like how they have this mountain of dragons, and the dragons are scared of this other big dragon. Like that's like the Godfather dragon, and everybody's scared. And like, I mean, that's the true enemy of the Vikings and everything. And like they're trying to find the dragon nest. And I thought that all was really cool, especially in the third act when they're like sitting there trying to storm the beaches with the dragon. The dragons are icing them and everything. I'm like, that's so cool with the fire. I'm like, I like this. And there's like one scene that I really loved was whenever, I liked when, like the dragon at the end when Toothless, he's like trying to free Toothless and everything. And then like the dad swims in, grabs him and pulls him to the beach and drops him and then goes back for Toothless. I thought that was great. I like, that is great. I want more of that, and I thought that was so well done. And also, the dad, there is like the scene, it does come off very cliche in a movie where it's like, oh, boy trains like, the unwanted person. And then the unwanted beast gets captured. And then the unwanted beast has to help them. And then they have to team up with the unwanted beast. Just it's so cliche in a movie. But I wasn't upset because, it did have a lot of great moments in between. And I feel like that's what I really wanted in this movie. I will say the cast, everybody does a good job, but there was like the twins and like the one guy, like like there's one heavyset kid that I'm just like, he really is just there. There's like characters just exist there. I think the only two characters that really stand out is the one kid that wants to be like the Viking King, and then the girl who literally it was supposed to be like the queen of the Vikings, but Hiccup kind of like stole her thunder because of the cheats he learned. And I thought their relationship was great as well. Like I was sitting there rooting for them the whole time because I'm like, you know what? I think she would be a good leader and everything. And I feel like honestly Hiccup should give her like the job at the end. And he gets his, and also he loses a limb in this movie. Like Luke Skywalker loses an arm in Star Wars, he loses his leg. To which I'm like, I appreciated that. I'm like, all right, like I'm glad that they didn't just use it like, oh, I got out of this unscathed. I'm like, he actually lost a limb. I'm like, all right, appreciate that. Props to the movie for doing that. They actually said, okay, people die in this movie and people actually lose. Like they talk about killing dragons and everything. Yes, there are people that die in this movie, and I'm like, I appreciated that. I'm like, it's not just a movie that's like it's just purely family. There are things in this movie that are more for adults, but I appreciated that it mostly kept it a family movie, but with adult elements in them. And I thought that was really great. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the sequel. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it a solid A. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.